The one left behind the cold lights of Dock 9 flickered above, casting sharp shadows on the metal floor. Lyra pressed her back against the wall, breathing slow and shallow. A faint trail of dried green blood marked the side of her arm. Her leg was twisted, her armor-cracked hand worst of all. She was alone. Her unit had left. No message. No return. Just silence. They had been ordered to guard the station's outer wing while the diplomats negotiated peace. But when a minor explosion shook the hall and Lyra went down, they didn't come back. Not because they couldn't. Because they didn't care. She had always been the weakest link. Too short. Too quiet. Not brutal enough. The instructors had reminded her again and again that strength wins loyalty. And she had. Neither so she stayed hidden in the emergency storage bay, trying to slow the bleeding, waiting for her fate. If the station collapsed, if scavengers came, she wouldn't resist. Maybe it would be easier that way. Then came the footsteps. They were heavier than her own kinds. Steady, confident. Not rushing but not wandering either. Lyra reached for her weapon, but her fingers trembled. She barely had energy to breathe, let alone fight. The footsteps stopped just beyond the bay door. A pause. Then it opened with a soft hiss. A human stepped in. He wasn't in armor, just standard survival gear, gray with patches of dust. He carried a simple rifle, but it was lowered. His eyes scanned the room, then landed on her. He didn't flinch. He didn't laugh. He just crouched. "You're injured," he said softly. Lyra blinked. Her voice was hoarse. "Don't come closer." But he did, slowly, calmly. "I'm not here to hurt you." He set down a medkit beside her. "I'm Tom. I'm with the rescue crew. I found traces of blood and, well, here you are. You should go," she said. "I am no one." He frowned. "Doesn't look like no one to me." She looked away. Her hair clung to her face with sweat. She hadn't cried, but something inside felt broken all the same. She expected him to leave, maybe call her weak. But Tom sat down beside her, back to the wall. "You know," he said casually, "you're the first of your kind I've met who didn't point a blade at my head. That's a good start." Lyra stared at him. "Why are you helping me?" "Because you're hurt." "Isn't that enough reason?" "No one else thought so." Tom looked at her, then not with pity, but something else. Calm strength. Real interest. "They were wrong," he said simply, "and I'm not them." He opened the kit and started to work. He moved carefully, patching the wound with practiced ease. He didn't rush, didn't wince at her blood, just kept talking. Told her about the station, about the damage, about how the rest of the human crew was trying to fix comms. Told her it wasn't her fault. And for some reason, she listened. When he was done, he handed her a water pouch. "You'll be all right," he said. She held the water in both hands, unsure what to say. He stood to leave. "I'll come back tomorrow." "You don't need to." He smiled. "No, but I want to." And just like that, he was gone. But for the first time in a long time, Lyra didn't feel like she was less. She just felt. Seeing ** the next morning, Lyra expected him to forget. She sat near the half-burnt crate where she'd slept. Her legs still hurt, but the bandages had stopped the bleeding. Her hands were cold. Her thoughts colder. He said he'd come back, but maybe that was just a human kindness. Temporary. Just words. Her people never stayed. They only judged Dot, so when the door opened again and she saw Tom's face, she froze. He was carrying 2 metal containers. Steam floated up from both. "Good," he said, smiling. "You're awake." "I brought breakfast. It's not alien approved, but it's warm." She watched as he set the containers down and sat beside her again, same spot as before. "What is it?" she asked quietly. "Oats with dried fruit." "Human food? It's not fancy, but it helps." Lyra took it slowly. It smelled strange, sweet, and thick. The warmth surprised her. It felt heavy in her hands, like it had meaning. Tom sipped his drink from a silver cup. "What's that?" she asked. He smiled again. "Coffee. Liquid courage, Earth style." Lyra tilted her head. "Courage? Yeah. You drink it before doing things you don't want to do, like patching oxygen leaks or facing a grumpy general." She let out a faint breath, almost a laugh. It surprised even her. Tom noticed and gave a soft chuckle. "I'll count that as a win." Lyra stared at him for a moment. There was no mocking in his face, no test, no hidden judgment. Just a man who seemed real. "Why do you talk to me like I matter?" she asked. Tom looked at her. His tone changed, calmer, deeper. "Because you do matter. You're alive. You're brave. You didn't give up. And you don't need to prove anything to anyone for that to be true." Lyra blinked. She had spent her whole life being told she wasn't fast enough, strong enough, brutal enough. Every mission, every trial was about proving she belonged. She failed each time, not because she was weak, but because she didn't want to become like them. Now, here was someone who didn't ask for proof. She looked away. "I don't understand humans." "That's okay," Tom said. "Most of us don't either." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object round and white. "A stone?" she asked. "Not just a stone, a lucky one. I keep it when I go into hard places." Lyra frowned. "Why?" "Because it reminds me of home, of who I am, and that I'm not just a weapon." Her fingers tightened slightly. Not just a weapon. She had never known what else she was supposed to be. Tom held out the stony hair. "You can borrow it." Lyra hesitated. "But I don't believe in luck." "That's fine. Just hold it for now. It's warm, right?" She took it gently. It was smooth, slightly warm from his hand. She nodded once. Yes. The silence between them was no longer awkward. It was calm. It was something else safe. Tom leaned back against the wall. "I sent a message to the main comm tower. Help might come soon. You'll be okay." "I don't know what I'll do when I leave this place," she whispered. "Then don't rush it. Heal first. Rest, eat. Maybe even smile again." Lyra lowered her eyes. "I don't remember how." Tom didn't answer with words. He simply reached out slowly and placed his hand over hers, covering the stone she held. His hand was rough, warm, steady. And in that moment, something inside her cracked, not from pain, but from softness, from the quiet feeling that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't broken. Just unseen. Until now. A week passed. Lyra could walk now. Not well, but better. Her leg healed slowly with the medicine Tom brought, and her strength returned little by little. Every day he visited. Every day he sat with her, talked, laughed, listened. She had never spoken so much before. Never shared her memories, her dreams. Never dared to show her thoughts. But with Tom, she didn't have to pretend. She was still unsure, still afraid inside, but less than before. Then came the alarm. A deep, echoing noise shook the storage bay. Red lights flashed through the corridors. Lyra tensed instantly. "What is that?" Tom had already grabbed his rifle. His eyes turned sharp. "Pirates. I saw their ship outside earlier. I hope they keep moving. Guess I was wrong." Lyra stood, ignoring the ache in her leg. "Do you have a plan?" "We hold the line," Tom said. "They won't check this section first. But if they do," he glanced at her, "we fight." She reached for the staff he'd helped her craft days ago, a metal bar sharpened at the tip. "You trust me to fight. I've seen you train. I've seen you heal. You've got more fire than half my squad back home." Lyra didn't respond, but her chest felt tight in a good way. They waited in silence. Then came the noise, metal boots, angry voices, weapons clicking. The pirates moved fast, searching, shouting. One kicked open the bay door. Tom reacted instantly. His rifle fired. Twice two bodies dropped. Lyra moved without thinking. She jabbed her staff into the third pirate's leg, twisting fast, knocking him down. A blast flew past her shoulder to close. She froze. For one heartbeat, memories flooded in. Her unit yelling. Her body falling. Blood. Shame. She couldn't move. But then Tom's voice, strong and near. Lyra, look at me. She turned her head slowly. He wasn't angry. Not scared. He was focused and smiling. We're okay. Just breathe. You're not alone. Lyra's hand tightened on the staff. Another pirate rushed and she turned, ducked low, and swept the enemy's legs. The attacker hit the ground hard. Tom finished the rest. Quick and clean. Silence returned. The pirates were gone for now. Lyra dropped to her knees, panting. Her hands shook. She stared at the staff, blood on the edge. I froze, she whispered. I almost. Tom knelt beside her. You didn't give up. Sky failed again. No, you fought back. That's not failure. That's courage. She looked at him. His face was dirt-streaked. Sweat dripped from his temple. But his eyes still saw her. Not a weapon. Not a burden. Just Lyra. He helped her stand. We're going to survive, he said. Together. She took a breath and nodded. For the first time in her life, someone had seen her falter and still called her strong. And for the first time, she started to believe it. The corridor was quiet again. The pirates were gone for now, but the station still shook from the earlier fight. Power flickered on and off. A soft hum ran through the metal walls, like the heartbeat of something barely alive. Tom led Lyra back to a safer bay near the command center. Her steps were slow, careful, but her eyes were sharper now. Not because she was unafraid, because she chose not to let fear win. Tom placed a small lantern near the wall and offered her a ration bar. She took it, but didn't eat right away. You still think I'm brave? She asked, voice soft. He looked up at her. Yes, every time. She shook her head. You don't know what I was before all this. Tom leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees. Then tell me. Lyra hesitated, then sat beside him. She looked down at her hands, scarred, calloused, and shaking just a little. I trained for years, she said slowly. My people believe in perfection. If you don't pass tests fast enough, fight strong enough, speak loud enough, they say you're broken. She swallowed. My instructors used to say I had no fire in the blood. I was too soft. I helped the ones who fell. I hesitated when I had the upper hand. That was weakness to them. Tom didn't interrupt. He just listened. One day, I was asked to choose, leave the weak behind or fall with them. I tried to carry a wounded cadet. I failed the trial. They said I was useless, a heart without strength. She looked up, tears threatening, and maybe they were right. Tom reached out and gently placed a hand over hers. They were wrong. You didn't see me freeze during the fight. I did, he said quietly. And I also saw you move again. That matters more. She looked at him, unsure. Tom continued. Being strong doesn't mean being cruel. And kindness isn't weakness. You chose to help someone once. You risked failing for it. That sounds like real courage to me. Lyra stared at him. No one had ever spoken like that. Not to her. Not once. She pulled her hand away gently, unsure what to do with the warmth building in her chest. Back on Earth, Tom said, leaning back against the wall, we teach our young ones something simple. Real strength is standing when it's hard, helping when no one else does, even if you're scared. Lyra listened in silence. You helped me fight, he added. You didn't run, and you didn't leave me behind. I could have, she said, but you didn't. They sat there for a while, not speaking, just breathing, just being. Outside, the station creaked, wounded from the earlier attack. But inside this small room, something softer grew. A kind of peace. A space where neither had to be perfect just. Honest. Tom stood and looked around. I found an old comm station near the upper deck. Still damaged, but if we can boost the signal, we might get a reply from orbit. Lyra stood too. Then we try. Tom smiled. That's the spirit. She gave a small, awkward smile back. It wasn't much, but it was the first he'd seen from her, and it made something inside him tighten. He walked ahead, but she followed close behind, not because she was lost, but because for the first time, she wanted to walk beside someone. Not just survive, but grow. The old comm station sat in a dusty corner of the upper deck. Its screens cracked, its wires hanging loose like vines. Sparks danced quietly behind a damaged panel. Tom stood over it, trying to connect a working power cell. Lyra watched. In silence, her arms crossed. The place reminded her of herself, abandoned, broken, but still here. Tom looked over his shoulder. Can you hold this wire? She stepped forward, steady hands catching the small copper strand. Their fingers touched. Briefly, the heat between them was sudden, unexpected. Neither spoke about it. With a click, the panel lit up dim, flickering, but alive. Tom grinned. Now we just pray someone's listening. He tapped the keys and sent the signal. They waited. A few minutes passed. Then a voice cracked through the speaker. An identified source. State your name and emergency. Tom leaned in. This is Private Tom Lennox. I have one injured non-human ally. Request medevac and station sweep. Pirates hit the lower sectors. We held ground. A pause. Then a second voice responded, colder, familiar, acknowledged. Reinforcements. And wrote. Prepare for inspection. Lyra stiffened. She knew that voice. It belonged to Commander Val, her old superior. Her people had returned, and they would not be pleased. Tom noticed her face tighten. You okay? She didn't answer. Hours passed before the ship docked. Heavy boots echoed down the corridor. This time, it wasn't pirates. It was her people. They walked information tall, armored, proud. The commander stood at the front, sharp eyes cutting through the room. You, he said, staring at Lyra. Still alive. She said nothing. You failed your post, he added. You stayed behind. You allowed weakness to control your actions. Return now, and perhaps you'll be retrained. Tom stepped between them. She was injured. You left her. If anyone failed, it wasn't her. Val's eyes narrowed. Human, this does not concern you. It does, Tom said firmly. She saved my life, and we fought off an entire pirate team together. Lyra looked at Tom, really looked. He stood tall, fists tight, his voice full of fire. Not to fight for himself, but for her. No one speaks for her, Val snapped. She doesn't need anyone to speak for her, Tom replied, without looking away. But I will. Lyra felt her breath catch. She stepped forward. I'm not going back with you. Val's expression didn't change. You choose exile. I choose freedom, she said. I choose me. The commander turned away coldly. Then you're forgotten. He marched off. The others followed. No farewell. No threats. Just silence. And then they were gone. Lyra stood still for a long moment. Her legs felt heavy. Her chest was tight. Tom gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You okay? She didn't answer. Not with words. She leaned against him, burying her face into his chest. His arms wrapped around her, holding her close. Strong, quiet, safe. They always made me feel like nothing, she whispered. He rested his cheek against her hair. Then they never really saw you. She closed her eyes. Because he did, and that was everything. Weeks passed. The space station was repaired slowly. The pirates were gone, and safety returned. Lyra chose not to leave. Not yet. The humans didn't ask questions. They welcomed her. Tom helped her get settled near the engineering bay. She worked with the crew fixing power lines, moving damaged parts, even training younger cadets in hand-to-hand combat. She no longer hid her face. No longer lowered her voice. The crew respected her not because she was loud or brutal, but because she was precise, focused, and calm in chaos. She didn't shout for attention. She simply was, and people noticed. One night, she walked into the upper deck lounge where Tom sat, staring out the glass at the stars. He held a warm drink in both hands. The space around him was quiet, glowing blue from the soft lights of passing ships. She sat beside him. He smiled. "You've been busy. They asked me to train the younger recruits today," she said. "Apparently, they like my teaching." He raised his cup. "Told you. You're stronger than you think." She looked at her hands again, hands that once trembled, now steady, useful. Lyra turned her eyes to the stars. "I thought I needed to prove myself every day to earn my place." "You already have," Tom said. "You don't need to bleed to be seen." She turned to him, really seeing him now. His face was tired, but kind. His voice steady. His presence anchoring. "Why do you always believe in me?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he placed his cup on the table and looked into her eyes. "Because you never gave up. Not even when the world told you to." She blinked. He added softly, "Because I see someone worth standing beside, worth trusting. And if I'm being honest, worth a whole lot more than anyone gave you credit for." Her heart beat louder. In her chest, she wanted to look away, but she didn't. "I'm still learning," she whispered, "still afraid sometimes." "That's okay," he said gently. "I'll stand with you until you aren't." They sat in silence again. But it wasn't empty. It was full of things not said, full of moments that didn't need words. Then Tom leaned back and pointed toward the stars. "See that group there? That's Orion, one of Earth's oldest constellations. It's said to represent a hunter, but I always thought it looked like a shield." She tilted her head. "A shield?" "Yeah. A reminder that even the sky has protectors." Lyra smiled. Quietly. Maybe that was what he'd been to her. A shield. Not from danger, but from doubt. She looked at him, her voice softer than ever. "Do you think I could be one too?" Tom met her gaze. "I think you already are." A long moment passed. And then, for the first time, she reached for his hand. No hesitation, no doubt. Their fingers locked gently. And Lyra knew she didn't have to prove anything anymore. She was enough. The celebration was small but full of life. Our humans laughed, shared food, and danced in the open cargo bay. Soft lights blinked across the ceiling. Music played from a speaker that crackled slightly. But no one minded. It was the anniversary of the station's rescue, the day the pirates failed and hope returned. Lyra stood near the edge, dressed in a clean uniform now marked with the station's emblem. She no longer wore the broken armor of her old unit. This one was hers, earned, not forced. She watched people enjoy themselves. Someone passed her a drink. She held it gently, unsure what to do with it. "Looks like you're the quiet one again," a familiar voice said behind her. She turned. Tom stood there, smiling, his sleeves rolled up and his eyes bright. "I thought you were off duty," she said. "I was. But I heard there was a party, and maybe a reason to dance." She raised an eyebrow. "I don't dance." He held out a hand. "You don't have to. Just follow my steps." For a moment, she stared at his hand, not out of fear, but from something deeper, uncertainty, warmth, the strange flutter she'd learned to feel around him. Then she took it. They moved slowly. The music was gentle, flowing like the soft pull of space. Her feet were unsure at first, but Tom led calmly, never rushing. People smiled as they passed, but no one interrupted. "I never thought I'd be here," she said quietly, dancing, smiling, standing tall. I did, Tom replied. She looked at him. Asterisk, he wasn't teasing. He wasn't flattering. He meant every word. You believed in me when I couldn't even breathe, she said. And you fought for me when I didn't ask, he replied. We balance each other. Lyra stopped dancing for a second. There's something I've been thinking about, she said. Tom waited. She took a breath. My people no longer speak my name. I've been erased, forgotten. In their eyes, I don't exist. He reached up and gently tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. You don't need their name. What do I use then? She asked softly. He stepped closer, voice low. Whatever name you choose. Lyra thought about that. A name, not given by command, not tied to failure, but chosen. Free. She smiled. Then I'll choose Lyra. It means dawn in your language, doesn't it? Tom nodded. A new beginning. That fits. Lyra's eyes glistened, not with pain, but with peace. Then I am Lyra, she said firmly. Tom pulled her gently into a hug, right there in the middle of the dance floor. And for the first time in her life, she wasn't hiding, shrinking, or bracing for judgment. She was held. Chosen. Seen. And this time, she didn't question if she was enough, because now she knew she was asterisk.